A lovely Thursday, good afternoon. Today, the 11th of June, 2026. And thank you so much for joining us on our midday news on Crown Television. You're watching us live on DSTV channel 277, GoTV channel 23, and on Top Story on channel 89 DTT and 543 on DTH. We are also live on the StarTimes application, Facebook, and YouTube as Crown TV Zambia. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as follow our Facebook page. Let's get into the stories that are making the headlines in our news this afternoon. 4 more suspects arrested over Chawama political violence. The court reserves ruling on Zambia-US health aid agreements. Final decision set for the 22nd of July 2026. The independent candidates sue ECZ over Kendo Simbo ban. And in sports news, Zambia's Copper Queens crowned 4 Nations tournament champions as they beat Zimbabwe in the finals. Well, thank you so much for joining us once more with the news in detail. My name is Mike Sakala. The Zambia police have arrested 4 more suspects in connection with last week's political violence in Lusaka's Chawama Township. Police spokesperson Godfrey Chilabi says the men were picked up on the 9th of June 2026 at a hotel in Chipata and are now in custody, facing charges that include aggravated robbery, malicious damage to property, assault, and unlawful wounding. The suspects, 43-year-old Ricky Chambawilo, 41-year-old Thomas Mvula, 42-year-old Peter Mwaba, and 46-year-old Rickson Piri are all residents of Lusaka. Mr. Chilabi further explains that they were part of a group involved in the clashes that left several people injured. Tawanda Munyuki has the rest of the details.
As the country draws closer to the general elections, the Zambia police has warned that it will not tolerate any form of political violence. Police spokesperson Godfrey Chilabi says officers are on high alert and remain committed to ensuring that anyone involved in acts of violence before, during, and after the elections is brought to justice. In line with the commitment, police have arrested 4 more suspects in connection with last week's political clashes in Lusaka's Chawama Township. The fracas erupted after supporters of 2 political parties allegedly clashed in the area, resulting in injuries and damage to property.
The service wishes to confirm the apprehension of 4 suspects in connection with the recent violence that occurred in Chawama compound, Lusaka. The suspects have been identified as Ricky Chambawiro, 43, Thomas Mvula, 41, Peter Mwaba, 42, and Rickson Piri, aged 46. All 4 suspects are residents of Lusaka and were on the police wanted list in connection with the political violence that occurred in John Howard area of Chawama on June 5, 2026.
And Mr. Chilabi has reiterated the police service commitment to ensuring free, fair, and peaceful elections.
Brief facts of the matter are that the suspects were allegedly part of a group involved in the political violence in Chawama. The suspects were apprehended at Protea Hotel in Chipata on June 9, 2026, among a group of individuals who had gathered outside the hotel. The 4 suspects remain in police custody and are waiting for more charges.
For Crown TV News, Tawanda Munyuki.
Now, various independent candidates seeking to contest in the 2026 general election have sued the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, over its decision to suspend the use of the Kendo symbol. The candidates, who include Mazabuka Central Aspiring Member of Parliament, Gary Nkombo, Malambo East Aspiring Member of Parliament, Faith Lungu, Mwandi Aspiring Member of Parliament, Iris Kaingu, Malambo West Aspiring Member of Parliament, Michael Chulu, and Lusaka Mayoral Aspiring Candidate Simon Mulengamwila, argue that the move is unlawful and unfair to candidates who had already adopted the symbol for their campaigns. Here's a report.
The atmosphere surrounding Zambia's 2026 general election is now tilting towards the courts of law as various independent candidates seeking to contest in the election have dragged the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, to court over its decision to suspend the use of the Kando symbol. The candidates, among them aspiring Lusaka Mayor Simon Mulengamwila, Mazabuga Central aspiring Member of Parliament Gary Nkombo, Malambo East aspiring Member of Parliament Faith Lungu, Mwandi aspiring Member of Parliament Iris Kaingu, and Malambo West aspiring Member of Parliament Michael Julu, argue that the Commission's handling of the symbol is unlawful and infringes on the rights of independent candidates. Mr. Mwira says the matter is not mere about a campaign symbol, but about fairness, respect for the rule of law, and the protection of democratic rights for both candidates and voters. He says no institution is above the law, adding that the courts will now be tasked with determining the legality of the Electoral Commissions of Zambia's decision. While the matter now awaits determination by the courts, the candidates say they remain committed to engaging communities and participating in the democratic process, insisting that the case is aimed at safeguarding the integrity of the electoral process and ensuring equal treatment for all independent candidates. As campaigns continue across the country, the legal battle over the candle symbol is set to become one of the closely watched election-related cases ahead of the August 13 polls. Reporting for Crown TV News in Lusaka, Chanda Mwango.
The Constitutional Court has reserved ruling in a petition challenging the government's handling of the proposed Zambia-United States Health Aid Memorandum of Understanding and an associated bilateral compact agreement. This follows arguments by civil society organizations that the agreements should be subjected to parliamentary scrutiny before being signed. The matter is expected to return to court on the 22nd of July 2026 for final determination. Here is more.
The LCK Freedom Foundation and Chapter 1 Foundation recently filed a petition in the Constitutional Court challenging the government's failure to submit the controversial Zambia-United States Health Aid Memorandum of Understanding and an associated bilateral compact agreement to the National Assembly for approval. When the matter came up for hearing before the Constitutional Court in the presence of 7 judges, the state argued that the court should take into account that the MOU documents have not yet been signed and therefore there is no cause of action. The state submitted that the court should avoid being drawn into premature adjudication involving administrative policy matters. The state further requested that the petition be dismissed in its entirety, arguing that the documents are still ongoing negotiations and consultations, making the matter premature. Additionally, the state maintained that the interpretation of the international agreements must be sustained within the proper context, noting that such agreements are governed by international law and require assent or ratification in accordance with international legal procedures. In response, the defense argued that the government is constitutionally mandated to present bilateral agreements before Parliament prior to their signing. They further submitted that their arguments are founded on national values and principles, including transparency and accountability. They stated that they are seeking to hold the government accountable to its constitutional obligations and to the people of Zambia. They have therefore argued the court to uphold and give full effect to the Constitution. In response, the court has reserved the case to come up on the 22nd of July for judgment. Kundej. Sachingalesu. Ngandu. Reporting for Crown TV News in Lusaka.
In another court story, NGOCC chairperson Beauty Katebe has expressed disappointment after the case in which she and 2 staff members of the organization are charged with idle and disorderly conduct failed to commence for the second time. Ms. Katebe appeared at the Lusaka Magistrates Court seeking clarity on the alleged offense said to have occurred during the filing of nominations by former Lusaka Deputy Mayor Katie Nanyangwe. She notes her frustration with the delay, explaining that she had attended court expecting the matter to proceed, only to be informed that the case was not listed on the day's cause list. Kundej brings us another report.
On May 5th, 2026, when former Lusaka Deputy Mayor Katie Nanyangwe went to Nakatindi Hall to file her nomination papers, officials from the non-governmental gender organization Coordinating Council, led by Chairperson Beauty Katebe, accompanied her. However, according to Ms. Katebe, police officers instructed them to get into a vehicle and took them to Kapata police station, where they were detained for nearly 2 hours. The incident did not sit well with Ms. Katebe, who later addressed the media and described the action as disappointing. Now, Ms. Katebe has once again visited the Lusaka Magistrates Court in relation to the same case, only to discover that the matter was not appearing on the court's cause list. The development has left her disappointed over the delay.
This is quite strange and probably I would call time wasting. We would want to understand why we were arrested, or I would still call it why we were abducted by the police, and we were only thinking that coming to court and being given the date and being given the hearing is when we were going to know exactly what offense we committed. Quite strange, because I still feel we never committed any offense because we were working as NGOCC, that is part of our work, And we never only worked at Nakatindiho. We were doing that throughout the country with the members that were being nominated, the female members that were being nominated. So it's quite strange that we come here all the time and we find that we are actually not even on the list. It's quite very sad for me, because I still want to call this time wasting by the police, because we were expecting by now we could have found ourselves on the list and be told what offense we committed.
Kondej Sachingalesu Mandu, reporting for Crown TV News in Lusaka.
In other stories, President Hakainde Hichilema has challenged opposition political parties that have joined the UPND alliance to actively campaign for the ruling party ahead of the August 2026 general election. President Hichilema has also tasked the alliance partners to mobilize support among their members and encourage them to vote for him during the upcoming election. He says collective efforts from all parties in the alliance will help strengthen the party's chances of securing victory. The head of state notes that a renewed mandate would enable the government to continue spearheading development across various sectors of the economy. Meanwhile, the opposition parties in the alliance have praised President Hichilema for what they described as achievements recorded during his 4 years in office. Here is more.
We are happy to receive these 5 colleagues and their members. Now that you've come, we must focus on you bringing all of your members on board. Leaders don't move alone. There is no genuine leader, bona fide leader who moves alone. Leaders move with people. Bring the people on board as well, so that this grouping can grow. And grow to do what? To unify the country. That's the #1 agenda. To unify this country called Zambia. We cannot continue with small groups of people who wake up every day only to dream about how to divide this country. We must be dreaming about how to unite this country. That is what is important. Super Ken, the younger ones don't know that name. Kenneth, David, Buchizia, Kaunda, and his unit worked hard to unite this country. We climb on their shoulders. We walk the path they walked.
Let me work with the man who has the vision for Zambia. And that's President HH. I'm not here for jokes. I've been like this throughout. The only person who has recognized me, my president, Mao Samba, and I'm really thanking him for that. Because we are not here for a joke. I'm a very pure politician. I know how to politic. Me, I enjoy when there is peace. When we work as a team. My last appeal, Mr. President, sir, as a chief mourner, President, I know you do it. Today, the president one whom I love with all my heart. Even when the Manawasa died, if someone remember very well, I cried to secretary PF.
Sir, the political orphans of Saka politics, of love and forgiveness, we had the choice to choose between continuing aligning ourselves with the now cult grouping. I call them cult grouping. Even under the funeral, they become a cult. When they hear you mention Edgar, they feel offended. When they hear you wear a t-shirt of Edgar, they feel offended. They own Edgar. They are a cult. Maybe they should form a church. Church of hatred and assemblies of the devil. Mr. President, this is your show, sir. As I'm concluding, half a page, why President HH? Why President HH? Make no mistake, we are here as alliance partners, I'll mention later on. But why we've come here, President HH? We had the choice to go here, by excellence. I've just said why. I was one of the strong critics last 5 years in Parliament. knows Vice President question, I'll just know what difficult question can I ask, and I'll go and ask her.
You're watching the Midday News on Crown Television. Just now, we go on a short break. When we come back, we'll be looking at sports news. Stay tuned.
Numerous cases of people falling asleep have been reported across the African continent. No one can explain this phenomenon.
With 24/7 FIFA World Cup coverage, sleep can wait. Everything can wait.
Catch all 104 matches from as little as 255 kwacha, only on DSTV.
Now you see, politics is not just about speeches and headlines. It is the heartbeat of every country's economy. From the power struggles, the promises, the people's voices, and the truths that hide between the lines. On the Royal Breakfast Show, we do not just report politics. We break it down. We connect the dots. We tell the story behind the story with clarity, in-depth, and courage.
And in the world of sports, every pass, every shot, and knockout. From the cheers of the roaring fans to the thrill of the final whistle. Trust the Royal Breakfast crew to bring it to your eyes first.
Are you planning an investment or trade? Money Markets wakes you up to numbers that shape the day. Let your business meet opportunity.
Now, because we understand that the decisions made by our leaders do directly affect you in the communities, we do make sure that we bring to you news from the communities so that you are part of the conversation.
Make sure that you do tune in so that you can find out more about lifestyle hacks as well as diet and fitness. It's not just talk, it's a guide to everyday living in every sense.
Every weekday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Everyone wonders why I'm always jovial and happy. Every day, every time. At work, even under pressure. At play, always under control. Even with Bay, I always shine. And today, I get to share my secret companion, Best Kombucha. Gives me the energy but also boosting my immune system as I go by my day-to-day activities.
Toileta mami we best kombucha sonwemu. Toileta daddy we best kombucha sonwemu. Iye nani best kombucha. Best kombucha. Iye nani mo kombucha.
Now you know.
Best kombucha. Iye nani best kombucha. You drink best kombucha.
Landeni tuminene amuleke lumitiseze
Shiteni tumiretere.
Mabuna tu afianta manga fulani kimwai kibati wanu na fiata chizo in the mix abalala pandalama ba fianta ma
mwakokola sana okwebati mshebayi nchipeketa mwesabene wamakweni mu Zambia namba 3 wani chimpundula asho aba umya bakosereka kuwina kumobosiki ukutamba nokuwina
Chila mulungu pasondo ku Crown TV nenshita ya 1930 ifya kuwina.
Mobile City, the phone's paradise.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for still staying with us. Now time for sports news, as the Copper Queens have been crowned Four Nations Tournament champions after producing a strong performance to beat Zimbabwe in the final. The victory completed an impressive campaign for the host, who had earlier booked their place in the final after defeating Kenya on post-match penalties. The Copper Queens took control of the final through Rachel Kundananji, who opened the scoring in the 41st minute. Zambia doubled their lead in the 60th minute through Priska Chilufya, who turned in a fine cross from Kundananji before she struck again in the 64th minute to put the match firmly beyond Zimbabwe. Now, Zimbabwe's mighty Warriors had reached the final after a solid 3-1 win over Lesotho in Ndola, but they could not stop a determined Zambian side on the day.
Zambia's Copper Queens have been crowned Four Nations Tournament champions after producing a strong performance to beat Zimbabwe in the final. The victory completed an impressive campaign for the hosts, who had earlier booked their place in the final after defeating Kenya on post-match penalties. The Copper Queens took control of the final through Rachel Kundananji, who opened the scoring in the 41st minute. Zambia doubled their lead in the 60th minute through Priska Chilufya, who turned in a fine cross from Kundananji before Chilufya struck again in the 64th minute to put the match firmly beyond Zimbabwe.
They belong to the fans, and for me, it gives me so much energy back. You know, as coach, you push, you give out, you work, and you know, after such a game, standing in the stadium with these emotions bounce back to you, it's the most fulfilling thing. You know.
Zimbabwe's mighty Warriors had reached the final after a solid 3-1 win over Lesotho in Ndola, but they could not stop a determined Zambian side on the day. The Copper Queens showed a quality composure and attacking strength to seal the win and lift the Four Nations Tournament title. Kundesh Sachengalesu Ngandu, reporting for Crown TV Sports in Lusaka.
Well, thank you so much, Nkundesh, for that report. And that story brings us to the end of today's media news. Thank you so much for being a part of it. On behalf of the entire newsroom and the rest of the production crew at Crown TV, my name is Mike Sakala. Good afternoon and enjoy the rest of our programming.